I wrote this video while myself and my fiance Bird, who co-hosts the We Watch Anime podcast with me, were babysitting a trio of golden retrievers at his grandparents' house for 4 days. And in that time, I had discovered through their Samsung TV the existence of two 24-hour anime networks. One called Anime All Day, which was just marathoning Hunter x Hunter 2011 over and over again, and Retro Crush, which was running 2 to 4 episode blocks of various shows from all over anime history, and also a block of franchise movies through the middle of the day, with programming switch-ups on the weekends. I became excited for this channel right away because it was running Lupin the Third and Space Adventure Cobra in that order just after prime time, and Space Adventure Cobra is the absolute pinnacle of a show that you want to catch in random blocks of episodes every night after dinner. I stayed up deep into the night like in the old Adult Swim days, and while I had to Netflix away from the terrible dub of Street Fighter that got a whole 2-hour block, I was curious to check out Cat's Eye in the wee hours, and eventually became inspired to start writing about anime until the early morning, spawning this very video series that you're watching today. Retro Crush runs an interesting but ultimately kind of unfortunate suite of shows. The best of what's on its current weekday cycle besides Cobra is the beloved boxing classic Hajime no Ippo. Early in the AM, they were running Stelvia of the Universe, which is kind of neat to look at sometimes, but not especially engaging. AD Police is a particularly sore spot, sitting at the 7 to 9 time slot and sucking as much ass as I had always heard it did. The night I wrote this, at 10 o'clock, they were starting a Ninja Robots Tobikage marathon until 4 a.m., when it became Sherlock Hound, both of which I was curious about. But then we got back to the early morning Metabots run, which has a dub that I can't stomach. The channel switches between dubbed and subbed shows, and not all of the dubs are bad, but the ones that are bad are very bad. Tomorrow we'll be getting Kimba, Kimagure Orange Road, Yakitate Japan, and the 12 Kingdoms, all of which I'm excited for. And then Millennium Actress, Magic Knight Rayearth, Nadesco, Rose of Versailles, and a huge Nadia marathon, all of which also sounds exciting. I'm sure I'll miss out on a lot of this, since some of these are shows I will either realize I need to completely rewatch or to reconsider that I'm ever going to finish. But as I review the lineup and consider just how little space there is in the schedule of one anime network, I started wondering, what would I do if I ran my own anime network? It goes without saying that I would like to run as many good and likable shows on my network as possible. Not only am I hoping to make a lot of money on this venture, but I also want to be able to watch this channel myself and have a good time whenever I tune in. Beyond the overall quality of the shows, my first major consideration is for visual appeal. I want people that are flipping through channels to stop in their tracks and ask, what the hell is this, when they get to my anime network. If I'm peeking on mushrooms and looking for something to stare at, I want to immediately know that I've made it to the right place when I click on this channel. You can tell I wrote this during my mushroom bender. That doesn't mean that I necessarily want a bunch of trippy looking shows, but it does mean that I'm looking for stories with strong visual storytelling and personality rich animation that keeps me staring at the screen. I'm also going to select only anime which I've seen enough of to judge the quality of, because I'm not going to take anyone else's word about what's good to put on my network. The launch of my network will come on April 29th, coinciding with the start of Japan's Golden Week, when everyone is off school and the TV ratings blast off. All of this week, I'm going to be marathoning Ghibli films in release order from the hours of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., and then running 2 of the most popular old Toei films in those extra 4 hours each night. I'm not doing the math to make sure it's actually possible to fit all of the Ghibli films into 1 week, but we'll assume that it is for the sake of this fantastical scenario where I have my own anime network. My network truly launches at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, April 6th, with my early morning children's action block to get the little ones woken up for school. Now, if I sat down in front of a bowl of cereal at 6 a.m. on a school day and turned on the TV, I would most want to hear the opening notes of the Cardcaptor Sakura theme song. And so that's what I would run at 6 a.m. from Monday through Friday, rerunning the series, including the Clear Card arc, once after completion for a total of 38 weeks running continuously in that time slot. Once I was done with Cardcaptor, I would spend the next 80 weeks, not including Golden Week, which will always marathon Ghibli movies and assorted Toei movies, running the entirety of Ojamajo Doremi twice as well. This accounts for 2 years of my network's 6 a.m. time slot. So we'll move on to the next spot before I declare Yume no Cran Okoku as the next show that will occupy this time slot, followed by Fushigi Boshi no Futago Hime. Oops, that's another 2 years. At 6:30 a.m., I'll be running Kodomo no Omocha, which has a little more hyperactive energy to make sure that the kids are awake, and also a strong role model for them to follow into the school experience. Running that entire show twice is going to take a bit more than 40 weeks, and then I will just start running the entire Precure franchise in this slot in perpetuity. At 7 a.m., I'll be running the World Masterpiece Theater block, which goes episode by episode through every World Masterpiece Theater show over and over again forever. At 7:30 a.m., I'll be doing the exact same thing with the Macross franchise. This concludes the early morning wake-up part of the day, and by the end of which everyone should be ready for school or work, or else settling in for a lazy day on the couch. And so, it's time for a movie block. Every day from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., I will run a 6-hour movie and OVA block, broken up differently depending on the lengths of the films or OVAs. Here is an extremely long list of movies that I would show during these hours of day over the course of my channel's first year. You can skip ahead if you don't want to hear a lot of names. Dot Hack Quantum, Akira, iCity, Alien 9, Senko Roll, Petite Cosette, the 80s Devilman OVA, Dokusei, 5-Star Stories, Fooly Cooly, Galactic Railroad 3-9, Gunsmith Cats, The Murder Case of Hana and Alice, the Phoenix OVAs, Jinro the Wolf Brigade, Prefectural Earth Defense Force, all of the Gundam movies, Your Name, A Silent Voice, The Garden of Words, Ghost in the Shell, Mind Game, Mirai of the Future, Otaku no Video, Jing in Seventh Heaven, Penguin Highway, Perfect Blue, Project Echo, Read or Die, Red Line, Riding Bean, Rojin Z, Millennium Actress, Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, Spriggan, Summer Wars, Tenemonia Voyagers, Tenki no Ko, Angel's Egg, The Skycrawlers, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Tokyo Godfathers, Twilight Q, Welcome to the Space Show, Vampire Hunter D, and X 1999, The Night is Short Walk On Girl, and Iria Zayram the Animation, all of which I obviously recommend. At 2 p.m., it's time for kids to start returning home from school, and no better way to greet them than with my after-school comedy fun block. 2 p.m. is for laid-back, funny shows that don't need to be seen from the start to understand as kids are filtering home from school. Of course, I will start this block running K-On! For a couple of runs, and then replace it with Kamichu, followed by Kofuku Graffiti, Little Witch Academia, Skip and Loafer, Stop Hibari-kun, Tamako Market, Momokuri, Hidamari Sketch, Ichigo Mashimaru, and Nichijo over the next few years. At 2:30, I will then run episodes of Gintama over and over, forever. By 3 p.m., it's time for homework, and so we'll be running school-age dramedies at this hour. We'll run the more realistic stuff first, followed by the more fantastical fare. So for instance, the block might first consist of Horo Musuko, followed by Snow White with Red Hair, and later showcase Inari Konkon Koi Iroha, followed by Beastars, or His and Her Circumstances, followed by Kiznaiver, Toradora, followed by Madoka Magica, and so on with that kind of vibe combo. By 4 p.m., the elementary school kids are coming home from school. I realize I'm like combining how American school times work, but I also did Golden Week, which is Japan. Don't try to make sense of this. By 4 p.m., the elementary school kids are coming home from school, and the tension of a long day is ready to burst out of everyone. So it's time for some after-school action fare. Now we're working into the kind of stuff that Cartoon Network would have put into their Toonami block. We'll start with more lighthearted fantasy action, running Log Horizon at 4, and eventually replacing it with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Hisone Tomaso-tan, and then Osama Ranking. At 4:30, we step things up a notch with some more intense action, following the likes of Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Kill La Kill, The God of High School, Mob Psycho 100, S-Cryed, and Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. By 5 p.m., adults are starting to get home from work, and older teens who socialize after school are starting to sit in front of the TV, so it's time to focus on something that bridges the generational gap a little better. Comedy shows. My mainstream comedy block would kick off with a couple of run-throughs of Barakamon, a few of Shirobako, and then Revolutionary Girl Utena. Yes, I'm considering it as a comedy. At 5:30, it's starting to approach primetime TV hours, and so we kick up the drama just a bit with dramedies like Honey and Clover to start with, followed by Sangatsu no Lion from the same original creator, and then the likes of Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, Violet Evergarden, and Hanasaku Iroha. Now at 6 p.m. we're entering the primetime block, when every move is truly crucial. These are the shows that unify the living room in post-dinner subcomatose enchantment. Quite frankly, there isn't a ton of anime that really deserves to draw the attention of an entire living room this way, but for the 4 hours from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., that's what they'll have to do on my channel. 6, I'll start with the more family-friendly, story-driven sci-fi dramas like Den-O Coil, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, Bonen no Zamdo, and Eureka 7. 6:30 p.m. sharp is going to be my dedicated Shinichiro Watanabe block, which only repeatedly runs episodes of Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy, Carol and Tuesday, and Kids on the Slope in perpetuity. Maybe his shorts, I don't know, whatever else he's got. 7 p.m. is when we will get our emotionally gripping drama. For a while, we'll run back-to-back episodes of Ultimate Survivor Kaiji in this block. Next, we'll do the same with Shiki, and with Now and Then Here and There, Young Blackjack, and Planetes. 8 p.m. will see us getting deeper into the thick of the action, running contemporary shows and fantasy shows one after another at a time. For instance, the block will start with Darker Than Black, followed by Escaflowne, then become Fate Zero, followed by Nadia, Secret of Blue Water. And definitely not the fucking dub, by the way. Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, followed by Modao Zushi, Red Garden, followed by Heavenly Delusion, and The Great Pretender, followed by Space Adventure Cobra. At 9 p.m., it's time to send the kids to bed and overload the adults' brains so that they are ready for sleep. And so that's when we run back-to-back episodes of The Legend of the Galactic Heroes every weeknight forever. 10 p.m. is when the only people still awake are likely to be on drugs, and so it's time to run our weird comedy block. This hour will always consist of a combination between standard length and various short-form shows, with an episode of the 2-minute Take You somewhere happening in the middle. In here, I'd like to run stuff like Arakawa Under the Bridge, Detroit Metal City, Inferno Cop, Kobayashi-Sanchi no Dragon Maid, Mitsuro Moe, Pani Pony Dash, Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, Tonkatsu DJ Agetaro, and Sore Demo Machi wa Mawatteiru. 11 p.m. is then the start of my block of really cool, weird shit with a relaxing atmosphere. So in the beginning, this will mean episodes of Casshern Sins, followed by Mushishi. Eventually, Casshern will get swapped out for Humanity Has Declined, Last Exile, Techno Lies, Wolf's Rain, and Tsuritama, while Mushishi will sometimes get swapped out for Kino's Journey. Midnight's when I begin my run of classic shows, always starting with 2 back-to-back episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam, covering the entire Universal Century narrative. For the next 5 hours, I'll then run classic shows in pairs of episodes, covering the likes of Mai Sanikoku, Speed Racer, Ginga Nagaraboshi Gin, Trigun, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Giant Gorg. And that concludes the standard weekday schedule, but on the weekends, I plan to shake it up with special marathons and movie blocks for anybody that's looking to just couch potato all day. Daytime Saturdays and Sundays will run the likes of Earth Maiden Arjuna, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Giant Robo, Land of the Lustrous, The Patlabor OVA, Kizumonogatari, Kurenai, Serial Experiments Lane, Kara no Kyokai, The Soul Taker, Gunbuster, Diebuster, Space Patrol Luluko, Yuri on Ice, Gundam Unicorn, and Gundam Origin. After the marathon, the primetime block starting at 6 will feature 1 episode each of 9 different shows, which will be replaced each upon completion. The block would start off going Gankutsuo, Gatchaman Crowds, Ping Pong, Kyoso Giga, Mawaru Penguin Drum, Id Invaded, the hour-long Figure 17 to put the kids to bed, then The Woman Called Fujiko Mine, and Kemono Friends to end it all off. And those would eventually be replaced with the likes of Kaiba, Kuchu Baranko, Kemono Zume, Kemuri Kusa, Tatami Galaxy, Noine, Blade of the Immortal, Yurikuma Arashi, and Futakoi Alternative. And that is everything that I know I would want to play on my anime channel. You get like 4 years there. I mean, you could just go organize all this into a file and make this real. You can make this a playlist and leave it on the background of your life if you really want. I could probably run this couple of years of scheduling over and over, and I would never feel much need to change it personally. Just swap in some, new shows as they come out that I think are enjoyable. I am alarmingly tempted to try and track it down and download all this and put it in a playlist and leave it on a TV somewhere forever. Would you watch my anime network if it was in your cable package? What would you do differently if you had your own anime network? Does any of my logic actually makes sense? Timing aside, do the shows that I said match the reasoning I gave for the shows is what I want to know. More so than if the times that I gave match the reasoning for that time of day. Anyway, let me know in the comments, and always remember, anime forever.